Mental health does not begin only when things fall apart. It is shaped every day by the environments children grow up in. Hi, everyone, and welcome to After the Click with Happiness. This is our mini podcast series where we speak to experts from different fields about digital life and what it is gradually but surely changing for children, families, schools, and all of us. For our first episode, we are speaking with Alifia from We Talk Site, a psychologist led platform that offers therapy, counseling, workshops, and mental health programs for communities, schools, NGOs, and organizations. I'm Leha from Team Happiness, and I'll be your host for this conversation. Today's episode is called Mental Health Beyond the Therapy Room. And we are talking about what people still misunderstand about mental health, the emotional struggles, showing up more often in schools and communities, and how parents and communities can create better digital boundaries for children without making the conversation only about fear or restriction. Welcome, Alifia, to our podcast.
Hi, Leah. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
Alright, so let's dive in. My first question
Yeah,
to
sure.
you, as a platform that works not just in therapy but also with schools, communities, NGOs, and organizations, where do you think people still misunderstand mental health the most?
So I think people see mental health as just, like only in a therapy room or just as a disorder, aspects that I see. But people often forget that it is based by your constant daily experiences. So it's not just one major event that can be seen as affecting your mental health, but their daily experiences, your school place, your workplaces, your house. So all of that together builds one's mental health. So I think that is what people are not looking at. That your everyday environments, they're equally important. So just sitting with those feelings, having conversations around that, having conversations with yourself, having moments of self-reflection, all of these are not being spoken about or are not being exercised by people. So I think this is a misunderstanding. And also people see it's like they might, so there are like two ends. Okay, so one end is where people see there is minor distress, but they're just uh, over pathologized. Like it could be very very minor, but you just have to sit with that discomfort for some time. But people do not want to, and they over pathologize it. Like, oh my god, this is like a disorder that I'm going through. Or then there's another end where there is actually severe distress, but people are like, it's just a phase, it's going to go. So I think we're just looking at these two ends, but not like the whole spectrum. So this is like a misunderstanding that all of us are actually going through, and this is why so much awareness is required in this field. So
Yeah, too scared to sit with our emotions, too scared to give it a name,
yeah,
and more often than not, when we do sit with it and try to understand what it is, a part of the problem already gets lighter.
yeah. And then we have constant distractions available. So I mean, you
Yeah.
just take your phone in your hand, and there you go. So that is why just sitting with yourself or sitting with people that you are close to is very very important, and having conversation.
From your work on the ground, what emotional struggles are showing up more often now in schools and communities?
So I think what we see, like the type of distress, the nature of it is changing because of so many digital spaces online. Children are trying to associate their self-worth to like performance, to external validation. So there's a lot of internalized pressure that we're facing. We see children, they want to live up to these social standards. So this is the kind of change of distress that a lot of children, they're constantly seeing how many their stories on their posts, how many likes, and there's a constant conversation related to that oh look, I posted this and this is what I got. Even if they're not actual creators or they have public pages, but even on your own personal page there's this constant talk of comparison, and that is how you try to measure your self-worth. So I think that is like a change that we're seeing in the children of this age, because they're so engaged on these digital spaces. So this is like the biggest change that you see. And also I think children do not their identities are being formed around these digital spaces. So they don't actually know, what they're liking, what their dislikes are, what are their hobbies. They're not trying to have self introspection of what they want to do, of what how can they look after their well-being, how can they be more productive, and all of that is just being covered up by these digital spaces. So this is the kind of, and this is leading to a lot of anxiety to them, being constantly worrying about how are they presentable online. So these are the kind of emotional changes that we're seeing in school, children in schools right now.
That's a lot of pressure. Just
Yeah,
I've also seen kids as young as 11 and 12 worrying about views, Instagram views,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
how to climb the influencer ladder.
Yeah, and also the meme culture now. So the conversations are through memes rather than talking of, yeah, even in adults, not just, it's not limited to children,
Right.
like even adults as such, we're just communicating through, no one's actually talking about emotion. So that's like a greatest challenge that we're facing now.
All right. My next question. Do you think, as parents, schools, and communities, we are paying enough attention to mental health impact of the always on digital environments that you just talked about, beyond just obvious online risks?
I mean, we're definitely aware about it. Parents are also aware about it, but they often frame these boundaries, these digital boundaries, as restrictions, which is why I think most children just either ignore it or try to do it secretly or have negative feelings towards the parents. So I think just framing these boundaries as how they're affecting your own well-being, having conversations about that. So like including your children in these conversations, that why is staying online the entire day affecting your well-being, how is it affecting your education, how is it affecting the other co-curricular things that the child might be doing. And I also think it is equally important for the parents to be models of that, because I mean the children is looking at the parent. So if the parent wants to exercise these digital boundaries, they themselves have to be a model for it. So parents need to also have conversations amongst themselves about it, and need to follow these boundaries themselves first, and then maybe the child is going to look up to them. So I think this is one way of shaping how these boundaries can be, rather than making them restrictions that no, this is like a complete no. Making the child understand why it is a no, not forcing them to just what parents often do is, we see they just take away their phones away, or they might just be very very strict about it. So that is not helping the child. So explaining the child is very very important here. So I think how you frame these boundaries and how you exercise them, also in space. I think what is important is for parents to have like game nights with their child, to have some fun activities that they do in their own house, so that the child is not constantly reliant on the digital space. So that is something that we're quite missing, because now it's we're that involved on these spaces. So I think this is a shift that, as parents, as also as adults, we need to try to work on.
Putting just harsh restrictions is never going to help. That's something we believe. Ways around those rules. So rather, we should be teaching them, sitting with them, talking to them about these boundaries, providing them, taking the help of tech, like to give them safe and protected internet, and having screen time limits as well. So there is space for the other activities you mentioned, like game nights with the family, or having real conversations during dinner, rather than being on the device.
Right. And it's also it's not just the kind of content your child is consuming or an adult is consuming. It's how long are they consuming that. So monitoring that, how is your productivity, your well-being, how fatigue it makes your mind. I think all of that is equally important. So it's
True.
like a conscious choice to make every day that you wake up. So as adults, you have to think, that how is being online just, supporting my well-being, or how is it helping me with my productivity, how is it helping me with my relationships. So it's the constant question you have to ask yourself to have that awareness. And also, how can you find ways out of it? So what can I do to restrict myself with this? Because now for adults it's like we have this freedom now that who's going to stop us from you have to put it on. But the constant doom scrolling, especially while going to sleep, we are like, oh, let's just watch a few reels and then let's just we'll sleep. But how much are you draining your mind with that, and how it's going to affect your body and mind the next day, how fatigue you're going to feel. All of that is not being thought of, or is not, even if you're aware about it, there is no action being taken. So it's like a voluntary choice that you have to make every day. And as for parents and children also, there has to be voluntary actions taken. It's You have to come up with things for you to be able to engage your child in other spaces and not just these digital ones. So I think it's a collective effort in a family, as adults, as parents. So that is only how you can have this shift of being always on these digital spaces. And how can you utilize these digital spaces for your own well-being and not just as a means of distraction.
Will always be collective effort. It's not just one little change that can, help keep children safe. It'll have to be a decision we all take and effort that we all put in to make sure children have safe digital spaces. So, thank you for this conversation, Olivia, and really enjoyed talking to you. And all of you in the audience, if this conversation stayed with you, share it with someone who might need it, and stay tuned for more episodes of After the Click with Happiness, where we will continue to look at what digital life is changing and what children really need from the adults around them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a great series that you guys are doing. So awareness is really, really important in today's time. So you guys are doing wonderful work, and thank you for having us.
Thank you.